Hello and welcome to another Let's Doodle. In this video I thought I'd show you how to do some little dragonflies. Now these were ones that I did about over a year ago and I have improved slightly, so I'm going to use these as a basis for the Let's Doodle today. I've recently started doing a lot smaller dragonflies on my page, but I'm going to show you how to do these larger ones because I think it's a really good starting point. Now I made these by tracing the dragonflies that I did in my sketchbook and on my loose sheets of paper. So what I did was I had different types of dragonflies, and what I was struggling with was making the wings exactly the same on both sides. So I made some little templates using tracing paper. And I labelled them, so that's the top wing, that's the bottom wing. So what I thought I'd do, if anybody wants these, I thought I could trace them out and put them up as a download, and then you can cut them out and trace around them yourself. But the other way of doing it, of course, is drawing one side of the dragonfly and then tracing it and flipping it and then putting it down on the page yourself. I'm going to use these ones today, and I think I'm going to use D. I've also got various lengths for the centerpiece. So I've been mixing and matching on most of my drawings doing these. And what's nice is with a template is you can position them on the page where you want them. Like so. I think I'll do mine this way up here. Now you might want to take that down with a bit of blue tack, but it's very simple. Just going to trace around our template on one side. We're going to put in where we want our centerpiece of the dragonfly. Now I would normally use this first section of the dragonfly base to line up with the wing. And the dragonfly itself is just a series of these sections with a long strip and another section at the bottom. So I'm just going to trace around these. Notice I've only cut one side of the template because I'm going to flip it and trace around the other side of the template here. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I probably won't stick precisely to these lines, but I'm just using it as a guide. So then I take my D top template, flip it over and line it up on the other side and just trace around it again. So I will consider putting these templates up. If anyone wants them, just let me know in the comments below and I'd be very happy to do that for you. So the bottom one, we want it to kind of point down a little bit from the top one. We don't want it straight up, but you could experiment with how you're going to place it. I'm going to line it up with this part here for the second section. Flip it over and try to align it so it's the same distance apart. It's not perfect for me there. Let's bring it up a little bit. Again, they don't have to be 100% perfect, but I found it very frustrating that I could not get the dragonfly wings the same size on my initial drawings, which is why I drew out the templates in the first place. So I'm just going to use my unipin pen, and the first thing I'm going to do is draw in the big bulbous eyes up here. You can make them round or you can curve them off like so and give yourself a little bit of artistic license. And then we're going to draw the head piece, draw the side pieces and draw the next pieces along in sections. So we want to then just trace around the outline of the wings, and I find it very hard to work away from myself when I'm tracing a line. I rather like to work towards where I'm drawing, and you want to watch your pen. You want to kind of keep an eye on where you're drawing to, and you're more likely to be able to trace the line correctly. I'll turn my work so that I can draw the line towards me. If I feel the pen slipping, I'll take it off, turn my work and start again. Drawing towards me, looking to where I want to bring the pen to stop, and again feel the pen slipping, I'll turn my work. Now I usually find it easier to work with my hand on the inside of the curve, but when I'm tracing a line I find I need to concentrate just that little bit harder. Oh, I've gone too high there. And I've gone too high here. So I'll try and correct that over here. I went a little bit higher and then round. And on this bottom curve I went a little bit higher. So, like so. So we have our basic dragon template on the page. Now what we want to do is we want to section each of these wings into 3 sections, and you might want to use a ruler just to make your little marks on the page. Try and line it up. So what I'm going to do is line up my ruler, try to make it balanced. I'm going to put a little pencil line as a marker. I'm going to bring it down again. So I haven't quite split these up into thirds, but it's not too bad. And then I'm also going to do a little pencil line in the middle of this section here. Now what I want to do is draw a line from this point in the middle section to the little marker on this side. That might not be very clear on the screen right now, but if you start your pen here, watch where you're going to go and just hope for the best. There we go. And the same on this side. I'm going to start over here and finish here, watching where I want the pen to finish, like so. The same with this second mark we've done here. We want it to come to this middle point again. Oh, there we go. And again here, slight kink there, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. When you commit with a pen, making little mistakes is really annoying, and the more you draw, the more you'll start to forgive yourself a little bit when things don't go quite right. So again, I'm going to put a little marker in the middle of this section where the wings are, not the middle of the whole section, but the middle of the wings. I'm going to bring my ruler down to just above this curve and do another little mark either side. I'm not measuring it, I don't really believe in measuring, not much. And then at the same time, I moved the ruler then, sorry. At the same time I'm going to draw a little marker here and here along the inside of the wings, and I'm also going to put a marker just here and just here. Now that is about 1.5 centimetres from the curve. Just going to do it by eye here. And what we're going to do is this bottom marker and this one on the side, we're just going to do a lovely curve like so. And the same here, just want to do a lovely curve. And we want to join up these two now. But what we want to do is have it curve the other way. So I'm going to turn my work around so that my curve is on the inside, because I really do find that easier. And I'm going to bring it out to the pencil mark. And again, I'm going to bring it out and around to the pencil mark. A slight curve, that one's a bit curvier than that side, but it's totally fine. We'll live with that. So that's your basic dragonfly, and all we need to do now is pick some Zentangle patterns that we can fill them up with. And I've tried various different patterns over the years, and you know, I find that some simple lines and curves works really well. So that's what we're going to go with today. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of little half moon shapes on the eyes, and then from the centre of the head, I suppose we'll call it, I'm going to bring out a little feeler with a little dot, and this way a little feeler with a little dot, like so. So now I'm going to decorate the centre of the dragon with just some simple curvy lines. I think actually what we'll do is we'll turn our work, because I'm going to put the curves this way, and I've already said I prefer doing the curves this way. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to skip 1 and then go 1, 2, 3. On these two, I'm just going to draw a line straight up the middle. And halfway down, I'm going to do a small curve just on one side, like so. With the dragonfly's head, I'm going to go from the top of the eye straight down, top of the eye straight down, and then I'm going to bring another line in either side. So for the tail, sometimes I'll leave that blank, sometimes I'll put like another circle in. Let's do that, like so. So for the rest of the dragonfly, I'm going to keep it really simple today. We're just going to use lines because that is the easiest way to decorate, and maybe in a future video I'll do a slightly more complicated one. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to position our dragonfly so that this line is straight really for us to work with, and we're going to draw some lines perpendicular about 1 centimetre, just over 1 centimetre apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, come to suit, 7, 8, 9. And we want to try and get 9 on the other side as well, which isn't necessarily going to be easy. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not quite even. You could measure it if you know you're that bothered. I'm not that bothered. I just enjoy the whole drawing process and I enjoy sharing it with you. So yeah, I'm just going to stick with it. On these bottom ones, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here and finish my line about 1/2 centimetre from this line here, like so, working in pairs on either side, and we'll do another one a bit closer together, and then we'll do one small little slither, like so. So we'll do some more lines now, but they're going to be a little bit closer together, and I think we'll do that on this one here. So I'd say these lines are about 1/2 centimetre apart. I'm just using my unipin pen here. If I was doing this in my sketchbook, I'd just be using the gel pen. because they're cheap and cheerful, and I get through an awful lot of gel pens. So I keep my unipin pens for best. And again, we'll do the same on the other side. Trying to keep the lines the same distance apart. And the best way to keep them straight, as I've said before, is to look to where you want the pen to finish. And keep an even, steady pace. Even I go over my lines from time to time. I've done the wrong one. Look at the state of that. I was doing so well. So this is what happens sometimes. I'm dealing with an awful lot of fatigue and brain fog, and yeah, so this is what's happened, and I've drawn the pattern in on the wrong side because my brain doesn't function as well as it should. So I'm going to go with this and just see where it goes, because that's really frustrating and I feel like it's going to be a waste of a day. So I'm going to continue those lines up and we'll try and do something different with the pattern. It's not what I was planning on doing, but honestly, I don't feel particularly tired today, but I still do suffer from this absolutely awful brain fog where I can't remember the names for things. I get my words muddled up. Oh dear. We can probably salvage it. So if I was working in my sketchbook, this is exactly what I would have done. I'd made a mistake, but I'll just carry on anyway. But usually if I'm doing these Let's Doodle videos or full process videos, I would have put this to one side and started again. But actually this is probably good to show you what to do if you make a mistake. Just try and go with it. That works for me. So on this section, I'll try and do it on both, I'm going to do a series of lines again, but we're going to make them slightly curvy, like so. And we'll space them about 1 centimetre apart again. And then in this section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw just a line underneath, and again here. Like so. And then I'm just going to do some straight lines again. Too close together. Space them out a little bit more. Too close together. Space them out with a bit of a gap. Of course you can do whatever you like. This is honestly so forgiving. I'm going to do it this way around. It's about finding some patterns that you're comfortable with and then finding some ways to work with them. I mean, there's not an infinite number of patterns, is there? But how you use them and how you work with them, I think that's a bit more infinite in its ideas. Right, there we go. we have a dragonfly. I've done these in the past on some watercolour experiment backgrounds. This one's a bit rough, but it's a really nice thing to have a pretty background when you're working with your dragonflies. I'm going to keep the background plain today, but feel free to fill your own in any way that you choose. So, what I'm going to do, because I've messed this up, is change the pattern that I'm doing. So I'm going to draw another line in here just below, and another line in here just below, and that's going to break it up for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ink that in with my pen, and that will break up the pattern and still give me the sections that I want. Great. What's next? Well, I want to... So one of the things with Zentangle patterns is I think that the right contrast between black and white is what makes or breaks a picture. I like to use a bit of colour in my drawings as well, so I will be putting some colour in, but the first thing I'm going to do is fill in some black sections on the page. So for this top row, I'm going to fill in every third section with black ink. I am just using my gel pen here because I don't like using the unipin pens for large areas of colouring in. And if I had more time to let things dry, I would use my Indian ink for the black sections when they're fairly large. But today my gel pen will just have to do. So I'll ink in these sections and then show you where I'm at the end. So I've coloured in every third section with black. These sections are a little bit not quite the right size, but that is what happens, unfortunately. And the next thing to do is we want to fill in some other areas with black to kind of balance out the dragonfly a little bit. And I will colour in the middle of his head and the sides of his head, and I'll also colour in, I think, the thin lines on this section. Yeah, let's see how we go. How do I choose what ones to colour in? Well, the truth is, I don't always have a plan when I'm drawing. I make things up as I go along quite often, unless I'm trying to recreate a picture I've done in my sketchbook that I want to do as a final piece. And over time, you will actually get a feel for, you know, what works and what doesn't work. Sometimes I'll colour in every other section, like I'm doing here, every third section, every second section. That's the same as every other section, isn't it? See, my brain is just not quite functioning today. Sometimes I'm on the ball. I'm not always like this, but... So it is quite likely that you'll see a few more of these drawings in my sketchbook over the next few months, because I have been going through all of my old sketchbooks and looking at my work and thinking, do you know what, that was a really good idea, but you weren't quite skilled enough at the time, so let's redo them. Good. I think we're making some progress here. I would like to add a bit more black. I think I'll do this skinny section here. I'm probably only going to use 1 or 2 colours to colour this in, and yeah, please just, you know, do whatever you feel that you want to do. Right, we're making some progress. Let's do the dragonfly's head. I'm turning my work because the gel pens, they take a little while to dry on this watercolour paper, and I don't like to work over myself because I don't want to smudge the gel pen, which used to happen an awful lot. And gosh, yeah, I still smudge my work, you know. Anyone would think I just don't have the powers of concentration, or yeah, or what. It's not that I actually struggle to concentrate. You know, I can do some very repetitive things, but actually thinking about what you're doing, and that's why this pen's annoying me. That's why I don't have another one. And right, I have to go and get another gel pen. So I just buy these gel pens from Tesco. They cost £1 for 6, which is really good value. But just recently, the last few pens I've had have stopped working before the inks actually run out. You get a blank section. Not sure if you can see. The ink's still in there, but it's got like an air bubble. I get that a lot with the coloured gel pens, but not so much with these ones, but they're still very good value. Now what I do is, you'll notice my lid has a little bit of tape around it. So when I start a new pen, I put the lid on the new pen, and I usually keep a spare pen in reserve in my pencil case that goes with me from room to room. That way I know which gel pen is in operation, and I will never actually run out, because nothing is worse than having 2 part-used pens that run out at the same time. I started doing that probably around Sketchbook 2 or 3, so it's been a habit I've had for quite a long time. It's particularly annoying if you go somewhere and you've taken your sketchbook with you and you know you haven't got a spare and it runs out. That's really annoying. Right, that's coming together nicely. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the whole of his tail black. All I'm doing now is I'm looking at the picture and I'm trying to figure out what bits do I want black, where do I want the contrast, how can I balance it out. And I'm not sure that that is something that can really be taught. It's just something that you get a feel for as you look at the work. And you know, I've probably drawn about maybe 15 or so of these dragonflies. Some things have worked and some things haven't, and I don't take my work too seriously because the joy is often in the process. But yeah, this one was really scruffy, and this one didn't work with the background. But if you don't try, how do you know? How do you know what's going to work? So this one, I'm just going to do that top section. The top section there. Then I think I will do that ring. But yeah, I am not sure you could teach anyone to figure out the balance, but you know, part of the reason for these Let's Doodles is so that you can see what I'm doing, have a go yourself in that style, and use that as a springboard for your own future drawings. And there might be some pattern on. You might not make that mistake there, for example, and you could do that perfectly well. But yeah, it is very frustrating not having full control of your brain, to put it that way. I am going to do something in these sections now to make them a little bit different. So I'm going back to my unipin, and I think I'm going to use the thin one, 0.1, no, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. It's got a nice fine nib. And what I'm going to do is I am going to round off the tops here. I'm going to make these little curves bouncing along. I'll bring you closer for that. I'll bring you closer. So apologies, this is upside down for you, but this is the way it's comfortable for me to draw. So I'm just going to edge along the bottom here, making these little curves like we would for neurographic art. And because this pen is so thin, it's ideal for just making these little tiny sections have a little curve on them. And I'm going to do the same on the other side as well. So what I'm also going to do with my gel pen is just fill in some of the colours, fill in some of these stripes here with black as well. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do every fourth one. So you're going to have to count with me, because you have to bear with me counting, because I will make a mistake. Starting from the inside, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. I put a marker in, so I'm not going to go wrong. Yay, she says. I'm going to do the same on the other side as well. So it's looking quite good at the minute. We've got quite a good measure of black and white, but I still think I need to add a little bit more black to this section, and then we'll be ready for some colour. So I'm just going to colour in every other section of the curvy bits as well, and yeah. So I'll just carry on with this and come back to you once that's done. There we go. I think that is the right balance of black and white on the page. I haven't decided what colours I'm going to use. I think I'm going to use my new marker pens, only because they're quick and convenient, and I'm feeling a little bit tired now, actually. I said I wasn't earlier, but it's funny how quickly it comes up on me. I think I will revisit this one again. We'll do a little more complex one next time, I think. But first I'm going to let this dry, because the gel pen isn't dry where I've just put it down, and I want to erase these pencil marks before I put the colour down on the page. So I'm going to go and put the kettle on, and by the power of magic I'll be back with a coffee in a second. Right, I have my cup of coffee, and I'm just going to rub out these pencil marks because I don't want them on the final picture. I use a 4B pencil for my outlines because it's a very soft pencil and they're easy to rub out. But if you haven't got a 4B, don't fret. You can use an HB. Few bits where I haven't actually got a good coverage of colour, so I'm just going to touch those up with my unipin. The 0.1 is really good for tiny little specks which just need a little bit of extra something. And it really does happen that you can colour in and you think you've got it all, but then you see a bit that you've missed. Yeah, okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan this in and offer it as a download, because you can then colour it in yourself if you want to. Yeah, I'm going to quickly scan that in because I think that's fun. So I'm going to put this up as a free download for anyone that wants it. You might want to just trace the template of the Dragonfly. You might want to print it out as a colouring page for yourself or for someone that you know. I will put the link for that in the video description. So I'm going to use my marker pens for this. I will put a review up of these marker pens at some point. These are new and they are, I think they're basically Deco Time ones, but they're called Artistry. I think they've rebranded. So I'm going to colour these in with my marker pens today. If you haven't got marker pens, you can use felt tip pens, you can use gel pens. These marker pens are just very cheap ones. They were £10 for 30 and they're not great, they're fine. They work really well in my sketchbook, but they haven't worked so well on this watercolour paper. But we're going to go for it today anyway, because it's a really inexpensive way to fill up the page with some colour. And let's face it, who's got loads and loads of money for lots of expensive art equipment? Not many of us. So I'm going to use fuchsia because the fuchsia's worked really well in my previous sketchbook. And I'm just going to colour in the section next to the black on the left with this fuchsia. And I'll continue that pattern all along this top row. Now, why did I use watercolour paper when I am not using watercolour paint? Because I find it's a really good quality paper and I don't always know which art medium I'm going to use when I start a picture. So I'm going to use two colours on this one. So I'm going to try and break up where I'm using this fuchsia. I'm going to put some on this body. I find using little strokes when you're using the marker pen, you get less of the ridges like you would with a felt tip pen. And you want to work quite quickly so that you can not get those ridges as well. Great. And on this section I am going to colour in every other section with the fuchsia. Yeah, I don't have a plan, I'm just making a decision and sticking with it. It might not work. Sorry, yeah, I should remember to talk. I forget to talk sometimes when I get engrossed in what I'm doing. I know, there's no help. There's no help in me, is there? So yeah, I'm just adding some pink in sections and figuring out where I want it to go. Just to balance it out. Again, I'm not sure this is something I can really teach you, but I can show you. And yeah, and you could print this out now and just try different combinations of colouring it in if you choose. I think that would be perfect for the bright pink. Oh wait, no, let's put one down here. Yeah. So we've got bright pink, and what are we going to do? We're having coral, purple. I think we'll go for the light pink now, the pale pink. And what I'm going to do is every middle section here is going to get the light pink treatment. These marker pens are a really quick way of getting some colour down on the page. And I do actually really enjoy using these in my sketchbook because they just work really well, actually. Can't really explain it any other way. So these marker pens are a really quick way of getting some colour down on the page. Yeah, I think that will do nicely. So there you have it, a very, very simple little dragonfly. Really hope you've enjoyed this video. Do give me a thumbs up if you've made it this far. Your support is genuinely very much appreciated, and do drop me a little comment below as well. I hope to catch up with you again soon, and do subscribe if you haven't already so you can watch future videos.